being the third man in the ring for all those unbelievable matches and main event matches and Wrestlemania matches, as a referee, you never got to tell your story.
We have so much more going on than even the wrestlers. Like, they have their match to think of. Instead, we have to hear these people just yelling in our ear.
They're asking you 50 million questions, and then you can't answer them. So we came up with the X sign when somebody's hurt. Tag teams on AEW just coming in, hitting a spot without even tagging in. It's like right in front of the referee. It's like
everybody has their own refereeing style. I feel in AEW, some people are more lenient, some people are more strict.
Kurt and Brock was more technical matches. Benoit and Kurt Angle, and Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and Kurt and Eddie. And so there's so many on the top of my chart. But he got 50 grand lower than Brock, right? And so fucking show's getting hot. He's coming out of the hole. And Brock's going, no, not yet.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
Our first guest has about 8 years experience in the wrestling business and has refereed for promotions like House of Glory, GCW, and ROH, just to name a few. The white tiger among zebras. Please welcome referee Nick Shin.
All right, Nick, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. How about yourself, man? What's happening?
I can't complain, man. The week's almost done, so it's almost time for some wrestling. So I'm pretty happy.
All right, sounds
Awesome.
Good. Sounds good. I'm ready for some wrestling and NFL football.
See, that's good. You gotta enjoy everything.
Yeah, right. That's it.
No, you've got the right idea, Mike. And I mean, I gotta introduce you, even though everyone watching this definitely knows who you are. Embodies every sense of the word, legend and veteran. I just found out refereed anywhere from 12 to 15,000 matches in his 35-year career. It's incredible. Please welcome the one and only Mike Chioda.
Man, thank you, Jonah. Appreciate you guys having me on the show here, man. Appreciate that intro. Yeah, it's been an amazing career, man. It's been totally amazing career for 35 years. You know, I started refereeing in 87, worked for the company from 85 to 2020, doing production and all that stuff. And, you know, it was an amazing career, man. I started refereeing in 87 with G.J. Strombo made me a ref with Gorilla Monsoon because I grew up with Joey Morella and debuted on TV in 89, man. So I had one hell of a career. Say that. Feeling good about it.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the longest careers, I think, in that place. You know, that was, I mean, it's insane. Can't wait to get into it. You mentioned before you hopped on here, you're doing ad-free shows. And I just wanted to say, I love what you've been doing with Monday Mailbag and everything with them. How does it feel getting to tell all these stories after 30 years?
Man, feels great and still got a lot more to tell, man. You know, when I got the call from Conrad Thompson, it was actually 3 years ago in October or like September. And we started doing the show 3 years exactly in October. And the show's been just going great, man. And, you know, like people have been pushing for the show like every week. And, you know, Conrad said, you know, man, he goes, your show is just it's so good. He goes, I just want to keep you every 2 weeks because I don't want to lose you on Mondays. You know, like he goes, I don't want you to run out of stories, you know. So I said, man, I still got stories, you know, that I've never told before still, but you know, the show's been going great. Got a lot of good feedback on it, and it's great to be on there. And I appreciate Conrad giving me the opportunity because referees, you know, kind of like marked myself and traded myself as third man in the ring because being the third man in the ring for all those unbelievable matches and main event matches and Wrestlemania matches, cash in Money in the Banks and everything, you know, you never got, as a referee, you never got to tell your story, you know. Even at some point, they even took, you know, a lot of referees. They couldn't even say the name on TVs after so many years, you know, and they stopped saying my name because it was just all the way across the board, you know. And so you really never got to tell your stories too much, you know. And I remember doing Daniel Bryan in Staples Arena in Brock Lesnar's match, and they interviewed me. They said, Mike, we want to interview you. I said, for what? It's like, you never let us talk. What do you want me to say? I'll just be yourself and just go over the match and whatever and this and that and, you know, with the other thing. Then it got like 1.2 million views on like social media shit right away. And then they wanted to keep talking to me more. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But people like to hear the standpoint of, they always hear the wrestlers' point of views and the heel, the baby face, and all this other stuff, but they never get a chance to hear the referee talk about what happened.
We have so much more going on than even the wrestlers. Like the things that we have to hear and the things that we have to just listen to versus all what the wrestlers are listening to, just thinking of they have their match to think of. Instead, we have to hear these people just yelling in our ear, changing things up. Like now I've done I did Ring of Honor for 2 days and MLW for 1 day. And now just having a different idea of things versus like TV versus the indies where people are actually talking in my ear and telling me and giving me new commands to give while I'm still trying to not give commands. Like just hearing the ways that everybody's just working around and things that I've seen that wrestlers can't even understand because you got to hear this and this person wants to go over, but this one can't. And it's just different, all the things that I know.
No, you're right. I mean, there's, when, you got somebody screaming in the ear, do this, do that, some of the boys, I would act like I would tell them what's coming from Gorilla, but I would say something like, I wouldn't even speak. But when they gave me a cue, tell them this, tell them that. And sometimes it was like, I can't, call these spots on the fly because I'm not trying to fuck them up because it's hard to communicate to one of the talent and you have to communicate to both of them. And if they're not in a hold, it's hard to communicate to both of them, unless you're going to make it look obvious on TV. Like I see refs now, man, they make things look obviously when they're trying to communicate either cues, times, or spots. And we used to try and do that on a real down low, whether you spoke Carney, other things. But sometimes I'd act like I'm telling them, did you tell him? And I'd be like, yeah. I didn't say shit to him, because I'm not.
I do the same thing.
You're trying to tell John Cena and Randy Orton or fucking DX or all this stuff, all these top talent guys, man. We know what we're doing in that ring, So the only thing, as far as the referees, is you better hit your cues on your times and don't fuck up your spots because, a referee could fuck up one spot and get a lot of heat. The boys could fuck up a spot. No, it's okay. We'll just, we'll get it back tomorrow. We'll whatever. But if a referee fucked up a finish or a spot, you were condemned, man. You're like, your ass was on the charts, like for heat, So, communication is everything in the ring too.
What do you do during situations like that where you actually have you ever had a situation where you messed up or anything? Messed up a finish, maybe that 1-2 and something slipped or just wasn't right or?
Man, there's been some maybe finishes on live events that it's kind of there's only maybe a couple times where I fucked up and if any I've asked people on social media if you could pull out that match where I totally screwed up, pull it out, pull it out that Rick Knox 1-2. Oh shit, he didn't kick. And God forbid who fucking called that spot next. I mean, first of all, let's go back to that real quick. I mean, I hate to be in that situation. I know Rick Knox was in a tough situation, but if he didn't know Phoenix's finish, and I mean, and if Moxley's hurt with a concussion, why would you why would you tell somebody to give him that finish? It's like a brain buster, it's like a brain buster. And if he's concussed, man, and then the second one looked worse than the first one. Why would they go
right back to it?
Yeah, they went right back to it. It's like, just, if he didn't kick out and the referee just looked stupid, just back up Phoenix, lift his arm up one time, drop it, call it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Don't say hit another brain buster, but and I want to say that came from the back from somebody and somebody doesn't want to take the heat for it, whether it was Tony Khan, whoever the agent of the match was, but they left all the heat on Rick Knox. And Rick Knox is not going to be able to explain himself. And nobody's coming out on social media or coming out anywhere and saying, that was my fuck up. I was the agent of that match. Or, I called that second brain buster, which nearly broke his neck, So, it's tough being a referee, man. So, there's a couple things where Beth Phoenix and Candice had a match. We were off a 17-day Europe tour. We were all tired, exhausted, coming off the last show at Raw after a 17-day tour. And then, Yeah, I remember she had this 2 out of 3 falls match, and she took a hell of a nasty fall. She was just dehydrated and everything. And she was just ready to pass out. And she fell and took this nasty bump out of the corner. And I told Beth, I was like, just pull her out. I mean, not pull her out. I said, just cover her. She was enough out of the corner, but Beth didn't know she was hurt even. And she pulled her by her hair and dragged her out. I had so much heat from Vince that I should have called the match. She wasn't totally, she was concussed, but she wasn't knocked out. And she wound up fracturing her collarbone after the bump when she took off the top, because she just fell right out of the corner off the top rope. I'd say that, and there was a couple matches, that were screwed up. I got confused on a Shinsuke match. Shinsuke Nakamura and R-Truth. And it was funny because Ronnie told me, R-Truth says, yeah, man, he's going to, schoolboy me once or something like that. And I kicked, but he did something else and schoolboyed him like 3 times. And the schoolboy was the finish. And I'm thinking, why did we do that schoolboy finish? Why did you? He goes, oh, my bad, dog. I forgot to tell you he was going to schoolboy me twice. And then the third one's going to be the finish. And it switched the United States title or something, but Vince loved it. He loved it. He's like, we're going with that. I love it. I fucking love it. I'm like, and then Ronnie's like, well, let's just redo it. I'm like, we can't redo it. Vince loves it. I'm hearing, and I'm like thinking, oh, shit, I just fucked up. But and I didn't put the heat on Ronnie, but I went up to Ronnie. I'm like, because I traveled with Ronnie too at the time. I'm like, Ronnie, what the fuck? He's like, Vince loved it. Vince loved it. He's like, my bad, dog. I forgot to tell you. I'm like, you forgot to tell me the most important part of the fucking match, the finish. But yeah, where I got reamed out the most in probably my whole entire career was the Candice and Beth Phoenix match. Yeah, where Candice got hurt. I should have called it. I should have. That was my fuck up. But to leave it that way, I was so prone at the time too, because we weren't really doing concussion protocol shit back then, and there was so many times that you just, when a wrestler was hurt, whether it was a female or a male, they got through it, and we just finished the matches, and then we took care of business late. They, of course, their injuries later, but they always. I've worked with so much talent in the 80s and 90s and 2000s where, if they got hurt, man, they were like, no, don't call the match. Don't fucking call it. I'll get through it. Let's just call a different finish. And we talk, communicate. Okay, do this, roll up or schoolboy, or do this. Yeah. And we always went, they always worked through their injuries. And so did I, even if I had an injury in the ring. You just work through it. But
what
nowadays, a little different. I'm sorry?
What injuries have you had from refereeing?
Oh,
I've had my shoulder's been popping out for the past couple months, and it's just I know it's bad because I could pop it back in mid-match and not make it look like I popped it back in.
Right. Yeah. Nah, I hear his shoulder. I had no ACL for like 20 something years working with W. I wore a brace. Then there was times I didn't need to wear a brace, wear a lighter brace. And back in the 80s and 90s when I tore my ACL, I had some scopes done, but you never wanted to take the 6 to 9 months that it took for an ACL back then, because there were, older surgeries 20, 30 years ago that left you out longer, and the rehab wasn't as good as it is today, So if you were around 6 to 9 months, you could lose your spot or lose your position in refereeing, for a long period of time. So I dealt with the ACL for a long time, no ACL. And then I'd say about 6-7 years ago, I finally got it done in Alabama. The company sent me in Alabama, in St. Andrews, and I got a cadaver put in, which, lengthened my career for a little bit longer. That went pretty cool. I mean, I came back in 3 months. I was supposed to be off for 6 months, but Shane called me back when he was coming back to the company and having a big WrestleMania match with AJ Styles. So Shane said, hey, calls me up because I just heard he had ACL surgery, whatever. I said, yes. And, I'll be out for 6 months. I said, this is going to be my first Mania I'm going to miss. He goes, no, it's not. I said, what do you mean? I said, Mania's in like 3 months. He's like, I need you at Mania, man. I want you to do my match. I need you in that ring. This match has got to go. It's got to go the way I want it to. It's got to go perfect. And I'm thinking Shane's coming back. He's doing that. So he goes, what can you do to get back in 3 months? I said, well, I go to therapy 3 times a week. He goes, how about going 5? I said, well, I don't know. Will the company pay for 5 days a week? He goes, consider it done. Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate being there for me. Let me know how therapy comes along. 5 days a week, consider it done. I'm like, what?
That's
okay.
on the spot
like,
is amazing.
Yeah. So, I was back in 3 months with a brace, but, I made it back, for Mania for his match. So that was cool. And then when I got let go, I was healing up from a rotator cuff surgery, and I had 2 tears in my bicep, rotator cuff tear, another tear somewhere else in the back of my shoulder, and Dugas fixed me up again, and I got released 6 months later. I was still going to therapy, and then I got released in 2020.
I just want to say, off of one question, you told some of the most amazing stories I've heard on this show in the last 20 minutes. And I can't speak for Nick, but some great insight through those stories. Nick, I want to throw it to you. Just everyone listening, I want them to know your journey. How did you get in, and what really got you into wrestling to choose refereeing over wrestling?
I really enjoyed wrestling for a while. I did that for 3 years, but the school that I was going to, IWF in Nutley, run by Kevin Knight, it had closed down, and I didn't quite know what to do from there. Then I got a call that locally one person was looking for a referee on a show, Pro Wrestling Magic in Ridgefield Park. And I was like, that's 10 minutes away. So I started going there refereeing. And it was weird to me because I had never done anything outside of my school wrestling wise. So just seeing how people were moving, different styles, different ways that they were calling their matches, it was just amazing to me. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure if wrestling wise I can keep up. But as a referee, I realized that nobody was really doing anything referee wise. When we were trained, it was we weren't allowed to know the finishes. But even on our live shows, we would have to count the 3 if the shoulders would stay down or call a submission. But we'd have to be able to work it as if it was real. So once I finally got on the indies and was just told, all right, this is how it's going to go, this is the finish and all that, it was just almost easy to me. But then I started realizing what I can do to make the job harder, the things that I can add and subtract from the matches. Sometimes when I would talk, when I would over talk when I see them calling spots in the middle of the ring or things like that. And then people started noticing and being like, oh, hey, Nick, you just ref this match. Hey, you ref that match. Randomly, somebody saw me and invited me to go to House of Glory one day. And then from there, since 2017 or 18, I've been the senior official for House of Glory. And from just doing all that, random people would just see me and like me and want me to come to this place and that place. And now wherever shows come out of the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, it's a building that just has tons of wrestling shows pretty much every week. Everybody just knows, oh, you'll see Nick there. Or if you don't see Nick there, he's going to be at some show that's related to somebody that I met from there. And now I'm just around trying to get on everything I can.
Ridgefield Park, where?
Ridgefield Park, right off of Main Street, the Knights of Columbus.
Oh, okay. No, what state?
New Jersey.
Yeah, so I was thinking Ridgefield Park. My aunts, I grew up in Bayonne. And,
oh yeah,
I had aunts living in Ridgefield Park and stuff years ago, and a lot of my family was
here probably every week.
Yeah, we were over by what, 46, Route 46 or something, right?
Yeah, right off 46. Yeah.
46, yeah. So I used to always go see my aunts way back in the day over there in Ridgefield Park. We had a lot of family there. I was wondering, Ridgefield Park, I've only heard Ridgefield Park, New Jersey before, but
yep, that's it.
Yeah, I was born in Bayonne, and in 74, when I was 8, we moved to South Jersey, Cherry Hill. So
nice. I've actually left in Cherry Hill, I think 4 or 5 months ago for a company called Super Crazy.
Super Crazy, huh? Cool. Awesome.
That's a really cool. Yeah,
that's a good story.
It's my house to just be the best referee I can. I see a lot of stuff and I watch how everybody else does it, and I try to give and take from everything I can. I watch every single match that I do. I have notes for.
Right.
I just will do as much as I can to get better on it, and even if it's just something as simple as, oh, I keep hunching over. Oh, I'm in the camera's way. Oh, I don't like the way my feet go. Oh, I don't like the sentence I said when trying to get them back from the ropes. I didn't
Yeah.
talk enough here. Then I think of ways like, all right, this match is crap. How can I make this better? Can I take away from here? Can I ask them to do this? Can I tell them, hey, hit this guy here? Hey, take it home. Things
Right.
like that, trying to like teach myself how to make it even better so I could just add to the match quality. Like
That's
my
awesome.
to be the white tiger among zebras. So if
Yep.
all referees call themselves the zebra, I want to be the white tiger. I want to be the
Right.
referee they know you could put in the ring anywhere, and he'll just find a way to make this the best match ever. Make a low
Yeah.
quality, good quality match, but it's just what I want to do and somehow be the best referee ever.
Yeah. I grew up with Joey Morella and Gorilla Monsoon in New Jersey and Willingboro. And Gorilla, I remember coming out and we were at the Spectrum one day. We set up the ring, we did this, and we had like a local Spectrum TV, local Channel 29 out of Philadelphia TV. But I remember during the day, it was like 1987 when I started to referee. And, I was taking bumps with the wrestlers like Barry Horowitz in the Brawler, Brooklyn Brawler, and these guys. And we were just fucking around in the ring, snap suplexes and all this. And Gorilla got hot. He goes, I thought you wanted to be a referee. And I thought you wanted, I said, yeah, I do. He goes, what are you taking bumps in there like the boys? He goes, referees don't bump like that. He goes, you want to bump to learn how to bump like a referee? That's a different story. And you're not supposed to be bumping like the boys. He goes, let me tell you one thing, Mike. He goes, longevity in this business is referee. And that's what I tell my son, Joey. You can have a good run as a wrestler. You want to be, because everybody, you're young, you want to be a wrestler. Oh, you see these guys, I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a wrestler. That's what kind of a mindset I had too. Maybe I could be a wrestler, and he said, look, the longevity in this business is refereeing. You can have a good 5-10 year career. You can have a good run for 5 years, and it might get shut down. You may get hurt. They may not like you, may not be as over. He goes, there's only a few guys in the business are going to have that long 30-40 year career. And it's true. It was true. And I had a great 30 something years, refereeing. There's only a few wrestlers that had a good 30, like Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, or this one and that one. Very few wrestlers were able to come and go the way they wanted to go out in this business. Not all these wrestlers go out, even though they're paying a lot of money. They never go out the way they really want to go out. Most of them. But yeah,
Right.
longevity in this business is refereeing. There's a lot to learn. There's so much to learn. It takes a long time for a referee to really learn from all the different talents. And, unfortunately, I grew up with some old school talent and they taught me well. So I took a little information from these guys, from the old school wrestlers. I took it from all the agents we had, the Tony Gurrias, the Jack Lanzas, the Chief J. Strombos, the Pat Pattersons, the Rene Goulets, and unfortunately, and listened, and never going, like a referee. What, we comp tickets, right? We don't sell tickets, we comp tickets. So, I probably comp more tickets than I actually did matches in my career.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned growing up with a lot of these veterans, and one in particular, Andre the Giant. I heard you spend time around him when you were very young. Do you have any memories of that? Any Andre the Giant stories you could share?
Yeah, I mean, like, fuck, before I even started full time with WWE in 1983, I was like 15, 16. And I used to, set up the ring for Victor Quiñones, which Gorilla Monsoon owned a ring, and he had certain territories in New Jersey, Wildwood, New Jersey in the summertime, Spectrum, Salisbury, Maryland, and so on. And I used to work, way back in the day for the crew. And but those days I was making great money, and I was making $50 setting up the ring, $50 taking robes, $50 playing the music, $50 timekeeping. So it was $200 there. Then Victor was like, hey, Arnie Skolin, you were like, hey, you got to sell programs. I said, programs? Oh, shit. How much are they? They're $1 a piece, 8 pages with one card, the lineup in it. I said, well, what do I make off a program? 10 cents off the dollar. I'm like, oh my God, that ain't much money. But Joey was an established referee. Nobody else. I was the youngest on the crew. And so I was the mark. I had to sell programs. But then I would go out and sell 3,000 programs. And 10
That's
cents off the
amazing.
dollar. I made $300 doing that, then $200 doing my other shit. By the time I was 17, and I was doing the wrestling on, the weekends in the summertime, the weekends during school, or the summer times, man, I was making 500, more, and then I get tipped, and I had 4 cars by the time I was 17, a badass waterbed, waveless waterbed, which was back in the day, speakers in my ride, all kinds of shit, but but getting back with Andre, I remember one time I remember he's sitting there and he's playing cards with Arnie Skolin and he's drinking, or they're having fun. Arnie's smoking a cigar, and he was the big money man agent. And I remember him Andre going, "Hey, you go get me wine and vodka." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Andre," I'm like, "I'm not even old enough to get, wine and vodka. I'm not old enough, So, and all the boys like, "You can't tell the boss. No, you can't tell the boss." I remember Paul Roma in this one, and "You can't tell Andre no." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? I don't want to tell him no, but I'm not even fucking old enough to get alcohol." They're like, "Well, what the fuck would you do if you had to get alcohol, whenever you wanted to drink?" I'm like, "Well, I'd sit out in front of the liquor store, give them $20, get me a case of Lowenbrow or Heineken, and hopefully they came back out with your fucking beer,
Didn't rob you, right?
Right, didn't rob you. That's how I used to stand there and look. Oh, he seems cool. Let me go ask him. And they were like, "Well, go fucking do that now." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "There's nobody old enough." I'm like, they're like, "Chioda, you better get it done," or Andre. I'm like, "All right, fuck it." So I did, and then I waited like 30 minutes, and I thought this guy robbed me because Andre gave me $100 bill. And I'm like, fuck, if this guy robs me, I'm like, it's got to be this French wine. It's got to be this kind of vodka. It's got to be this, bro. And then, the dude came out, and I'm like, oh, fuck, cool. So I gave him, I think, $20, but then Andre tipped me like $50 or something for going to get it, And I was like, yeah, boss, anything you need next time, I'll get it. Getting tipped $50 is a hell of a lot of money plus what you're making. But Andre there was a lot of cool stories with Andre, so it was great. Sad to see him pass away so young.
Yeah.
He was. There's a picture of me and Tony Chimmel when we had smocks on, and we were like, this is why I was working WWE full time. He was getting kind of older, and we're carrying him out. Because they had us dress up as doctors. We did everything. Dressing up as doctors and all this other stuff. So, but it was a lot of cool memories with Andre, that's for sure. And don't ever try and drink with him. You couldn't have drank. He drank anybody under the table.
Oh, of course. Is that rumor is true? The I forget what the exact number is, like 140 something in one sitting. Like, you think that's probably
what?
140? He threw something back. I don't. It was whether it was just beer or something. He did a lot in one sitting. I think he holds like a Guinness Book of World Records, but you think there's probably some truth to that?
Oh, there's a lot of truth to that. Oh, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I remember I think he used to drink like 2 bottles of wine and a bottle of vodka sometimes before he went in the ring.
Wow.
And
still able to do everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro. I mean, he was, he was 500 pounds at the time, when he was in his prime, when I was first starting in this business, and well, not, yeah, I mean, he's still in his prime. I mean, remember when Joey Morella repped, it was such a huge match for Joey to rep the Hogan and Andre match too,
Oh wow, that's so yeah.
Yeah, Joey Morella repped that match, and so it's just it was cool. That's kind of when Andre passed the torch to Hogan, and then Hogan passed the torch to The Rock in 2002. I did that match in Sky Dome in Toronto. And then a little bit after that, Rock takes that torch and takes off to Hollywood on us. It was like, yo, Rock, where you going?
Well, that's crazy. Awesome to hear that you were able to spend so much time with him at the very beginning too. Nick, for you, at the beginning, We heard your journey. Do you remember the very first match, the first official match you were the referee for? Do you remember how that went or how that was for you? Any nerves you had?
It wasn't that I was nervous. It was really funny to me because throughout my school, there were probably 5 or 6 girls, and for some reason, the women would never wrestle each other. They would always have the women wrestling the guys just because the women were either like just not trained enough on the shows, or they would just need something else, or the women versus the women would never end up a good match. So my first match was Jordan Grace versus Sonia Strong. That was the
Wow.
first match refed at Pro Wrestling Magic on the Indies.
Wow. Wow.
And it was funny because I just refed Sonia's return match, and I've now refed Jordan Grace like at least once a year since I started refing.
No, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, my first match was it was Brooklyn Brawler and Barry Horowitz. That was my very first match. Yeah, at a live event. I was nervous as fuck because I didn't come out as being a wrestler. I was a ring crew guy and did all the, the backstage stuff and TV stuff and drove the trucks and stuff like that. So I was fucking nervous as all get out because the old school town, if you screwed up a match, that's why I became a referee, because Chief J and a lot of the agents were hating on the New York State Commission guys and the Pennsylvania State Commission, and we had the State Commission. So they wanted, Chief got tired of them guys from screwing up all these matches. So, like, oof, I didn't want to, I was nervous as all get out, boy. I had butterflies. And, I still had butterflies in my career doing big matches, like even when I was refereeing 15 years later. Like, you're going to tell me I didn't have butterflies and, going into the Hulk Hogan, the Rock match in the Sky Dome, shit, it was unbelievable. And then I became a mark because it was just unbelievable. I was in the business already 17 years at that point, and I'm thinking I was marking out, like icon against icon. All the years I've seen Hogan, and seeing Rock coming in with Jerry curls and coming as Rocky Maivia, then what he became, the Rock, even Stone Cold Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar match in WrestleManias, and Seth. I always get butterflies because especially if you have a referee has to take a bump and you have your spots to take care of, and you got to know these matches in case some of the guys draw a blank, and you got to know these matches to the T. And you definitely want your false finishes to execute your false finishes, your cadences. When you're getting a crowd standing off their feet when they thought it was a 3 count, that means your referee's doing their damn job, So, and it feels good. But yeah, you used to get butterflies in a lot of even matches, even many years into my career.
What was your favorite that you've done?
It's hard to say. I mean, of course,
Any?
I'm not taking away anything from the Rock and it's for different parts of it, whether it was Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Brock and Roman Reigns with Seth cashing in the Money in the Bank. All those matches had a different, for me, like in a lot of matches, certain matches like Kurt and Brock was more technical matches. Benoit and Kurt Angle, and Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and Kurt and Eddie, and so there's so many on the top of my chart. But I got to say Rock and Hogan, with the reaction that Hogan got coming out, and the people didn't forget who Hulk Hogan was, and him coming out in that NWO gear, and and all that, and that was probably one of the most unbelievable responses I've ever heard. Like it was like The Rock coming out in Colorado not too long ago, and I mean, here you had 68,000 people. We didn't break the record on attendance, but man, in that dome too, that big ass dome, it was so loud, you couldn't even hear yourself think, man. It was just like going right through your head, man. I marked out, had goosebumps, marked out on that match. And, I had to take a bump in that match, and that was have to execute this bump perfectly. And it did. It worked out great. And you pat yourself later on, after everything works out great, the talent's happy, the agents are happy, Vince is happy. But before, yeah, you're nervous as all get out because if, like I said, if a referee screws up a bump or screws up the match, so much heat gets put on the referee. But I have a ton of favorite matches. I have a ton. It's really hard to pinpoint it because so many matches were different. Like Hogan and Rock, it wasn't a big tech. It was just old school push off, shove off, tackle, Hulk up. It was like, and a crowd popped on this, popped on that, popped on this. We had them on the entrance. We had the crowd on the entrance,
Yeah.
We had it on the stare down. It was just unbelievable on the stare down. Which should that match been the last match? Fuck yeah, that night it should have been the last match. And there was so much controversy that whole day. I remember Jericho running around, this is 21 years ago, saying that match should be on last. I'm telling you, that match should be on last. We shouldn't fucking be going, And, Triple H and a lot of the guys probably, the office didn't want to hear that. But shit, there was a girls' match after the Hogan match and then Triple H and Jericho, and that crowd was so dead after that. They took every breath out of that crowd after the Rock and Hogan match. And then there's a lot of other matches that are technical and high flying. It's just different pace of wrestling,
It's just the people. Sometimes you just want to see those people that you really love. You can't beat the feeling that The Rock and Hulk Hogan could give you. Like nothing could do that. Even though, of course, you could watch a cool match after, but those are two things that just give you so much energy. It's just you're gonna be dead after that.
And there's so many matches you do, like, and you think like, oh my God, you just never thought it 20 years later it'd be becoming one of the best wrestling matches in wrestling, wrestling history. But that night I knew it was special because that's why this shirt right here I got up on the wall is from the Rock and Hogan match. And, there's only a few shirts that I got. I got a lot of WrestleMania shirts from really good matches that I really liked myself. But that shirt I got signed by Rock and Hogan, framed it right away, It was icon against icon. And there's plenty more shirts I got that are, definitely sentimental to me, more sentimental. So, but yeah, it's hard. It's, one of my favorite matches back in the day was like even Razor Ramon 1-2-3 Kid when, 1-2-3 Kid goes over on Razor, and we're in the Manhattan Center. And I remember Razor going, Coyote, come here, Coyote. I'm like, what's up, Razor? He's like, look, if you got any fucking fast count in you, it better be tonight. And he goes, I don't give a fuck, but just up that fucking speed on that count. 1, 2, 3, I mean, I'm like sitting there going, you ain't gonna fuck with Razor and fucking Kevin Nash and all those boys that hung out, and you could tell Razor was butthurt about fucking doing the job to the kid, but they were trying to get the kid over, which it worked out perfect, And I remember going 1, 2, 3. It was just like, as fast as I can do it without looking stupid. But, back in them days, you listen to the boys, because you got to work with the boys. You got to travel with the boys overseas, and if you don't want to come home looking like Nick with a bald head and shaved back then, boy, if you had to eat with the boys, they'd be shaving your head as much as they could,
Mike, you mentioned the bump you took in the Hogan and Rock match. Nick, I'd love to throw it to you. Have you taken many bumps in matches? And if you could walk us through like the science of that, really, like a ref bump.
Yeah, he don't mean these bumps. He means a ref bump.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Yeah.
No. A ref bump. That's nice.
He had to point that out at the end. Ref bump.
Yeah.
One good one I took. I took a lot of good bumps. I think my best ones were House of Glory ones. One of my favorites was Anthony Gangone versus Amazing Red in a no ropes match. At all of the referees, Red said all of the referees are going to die tonight. And nobody understood what that really meant. So then when calling the match, the first referee came out. He was like, okay, you're going to get a chair thrown at your head at some point. I'm not sure when, but look out for when I have the chair. When that happens, then another referee comes out. Nick, you're going to be the referee for that part. He's going to put me into a cross-faced chicken wing, and then somehow he's going to roll out and Sparta kick you through a door. Made no sense to me, and I didn't understand how it was going to work, because I think it was the first amazing red match I had ever reffed at House of Glory. So I was already nervous, thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, like, this is red. This is the boss here. Like, I got to do good. When the part finally came, they lined me up with the door and everything. They were struggling. They were going back and forth with the crossface, back and forth with the crossface. He finally got it. He twisted it out and he just kicked me in the chest, and I just flew back off the ring through the door that was set up across the ring post and the barricade. Yeah, it was amazing. The crowd was there. Crowd came forward. Everybody was like thinking I was dead. They had the camera on me.
Yeah.
And I was perfectly fine. I just went through it. And people were into it.
That's cool, man. That's it.
That's
cool.
Really like little
Good
things
story.
like that. Like, just makes it feel like I could be a part of this, just doing one stupid thing like getting kicked through a door. And it just added on, because as the referees started getting beat up, one guy who was the ring announcer, who was the first House of Glory referee ever, he happened to be in the crowd and pulled off his shirt, and then he was able to get in the ring and then make the 3 count. And it just made everybody pop, because the few that were there that were at the first ever House of Glory shows were like, oh, he came back and reffed it. And then the other ones were like, oh, the referees all died. It looked amazing. Everybody was just happy about it. Yeah. Then I realized, like, the way that I could do things, like, with those bumps. So now it's like when I'm taking, like, little clothesline bumps or go ahead, turn around, I'm gonna throw him a clothesline. Somebody's gonna duck it. You're gonna take the clothesline. Like, now I've like been looking it up, like ways to bump and stuff, and like how you were saying earlier, like how a referee doesn't bump like a wrestler. Now I understand the whole like car crash sequence. Like, what would an average person do when they get knocked over? Because the referee shouldn't be trained to bump. It should just be like, all right, I'm just getting knocked the hell out.
Right.
I'm just a regular person.
Someone like if you're taking a punch, you're gonna crumble, not like take a flip and do all this and fly like a fish out of water. You know what I'm saying? There's totally different ways for a referee to bump instead of a wrestler. Totally right.
Yeah. Do stupidness, drop and die.
There was one incident where it was Wrestlemania. Rock and Stone Cold haven't touched for a year. This crowd in Philadelphia at Spectrum was so fired up, man. I remember it came out at the first 10 minutes of the match, and I was supposed to take the chair shot from Stone Cold. Rock pulls me in, and Stone Cold goes, he was Coyote. He was like, hey, just put your hand up right here, brother. He goes, I said, man, I'm not putting my hand up. I said, screw that. I said, after what you guys, all the chair shots you take, all the crazy shit, and Mick Foley's jumping off of cages in Pittsburgh, and this one's out, I said, man, I'm just going to take that chair shot. I'm from South Jersey. I'm from Jersey. It's like my hometown. Got plenty of comp tickets and family out there. I want it to really look good. If he gashes me and splits me wide open, he does. I said, don't worry, Steve, just bring it, man. And I'm not going to put my hands up. You sure? I said, no, I'm good, man. He goes, oh, all right. He goes, man, hate to fuck up that little pretty face of yours, but man, I said, brother, if it happens, it happens. I said, I just want it to look good. If I put my hands up, I know it's coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to put my hands up way too early. You know what I'm saying? And I said, I'm just not going to put my hands up at all. So, and man, I'll tell you, that fucking thing rang my bell for like 3 days. I came back, JR goes, God damn it, boy. He goes, I'm gonna give you a bonus, $2,500, taking that fucking chair shot. I said, shit, I'll take them chair shots all day long.
Yeah, every night.
I was like, holy shit, but that rang my bell. My neck was stiff for a week or two, man. I heard ringing in my ear for like at least 3 days, man. I felt like the phone was just constantly ringing. It was like, but there's some shots and there's stuff that, as a referee, You just can't, after what these guys do, you can't be worried about taking the kind of bump that that you got to be involved in,
Right.
Yeah, I feel like reffing death matches on the indies now. Like, it's stupid, but I don't feel like right. Sometimes some of the guys will be reffing and just being like elbow pads and long sleeve shirts and stuff. But then I'll see these guys wrestling, just doing all kinds of stupidness with glass and light tubes and all that. And they're just like shirtless or in their undies. I'm like, all right, well, I might as well just be in my t-shirt and not have any glasses or goggles and stuff. Because if they got to deal with all this, I'll at least wear gloves so when I count, I don't stab my hand. But that's it.
Right. Yeah, them thumbtacks
like
are
I want to just like let them know that I'm here with them and I understand the nonsense that they're going through because I feel it. It's all for the crowd and I want to be happy too.
Even though they're getting that bigger check, but
yeah,
a hell of a bigger check, boy. I remember fucking Brock, and it wasn't the where the ring collapsed, but they were working an Angle Brock and show, and I remember we did a pay-per-view, Matt. We did a pay-per-view a month or two ago. We used to always have to wait months till our paycheck for the pay-per-views. So, because they were bigger checks. And I remember seeing, I think it was SummerSlam, they were involved or something. And I remember fucking show going, hey, Brock, Brock had him in a hold, and he had him in a hold in the middle of the ring. And then, Show sitting there selling, and Show goes, hey, Brock, did you get your fucking check for the pay-per-view? And he's like, yeah, Show, I did. He was like, what'd you get? He was like, oh, I got 250 grand for that. He goes, what? He was like, are you fucking kidding me? He got hot, Show. He was like, I got fucking 200 grand. He got 50 grand lower than Brock, right? And so fucking Show's getting hot. He's coming out of the hold, and Brock's going, no, not yet. And he's trying to beat him back down, right? He's trying to beat him back down, and Show just kept back up. And he picks up fucking Brock. He's like, you really got, I'm like, whoa. Are we talking about that pay-per-view match I did, man? You guys a couple of months ago? I'm like, I got 2,500. And they're like, shut up, Coyote. I'm like, are you guys talking 250 grand? 250? 200?
Holy shit.
What the fuck? I got 1% of that. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, the boys will be boys, making that money. The money out there today is unbelievable, man. Woof. And it's good for the boys. If it wasn't for AEW, so many wrestlers would be fucked and screwed. They wouldn't have another place to go. They don't have no bargaining chips at the WWE table, because now you got chips to bargain. Oh, you don't want to pay me? I'll go to AEW. Let's see what they have to offer,
Right.
And it's great because the employees and with AEW, telling you, WWE probably would have never thought that AEW would be doing this many of their shows now, like, shows on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Collision, and the pay-per-views and fucking hitting records at Wembley Stadium, and shit like that. And the ratings are beating. I mean, WWE seems like they're pulling everything out. John Cena and NXT,
Undertaker. Yeah, that was the other night.
And I think AEW still beat him in the ratings.
Like it's great how both of these are just doing that because even though it's like your people are looking like one beat the other, like that just means if you split it in half, there's that many people just watching wrestling in general. Like I don't care watching, it's just the whole idea that wrestling is still making some kind of just move and budge and it's just people.
Right.
Like it just makes me happy to see that wrestling is still doing it somehow.
Yeah, wrestling is still doing it, but I God, when you're watching, I mean, what wrestling's on almost 6 days a week now. If you have a pay-per-view, I mean, you got SmackDown, Raw, you got this, you got all these shows. I just hope they're not oversaturating wrestling, because I'm hearing some kind of rumors where Fox may not want to renew WWE SmackDown.
I've heard that
contract.
Too.
I'm hearing things that Raw, they don't want Raw on for 3 hours anymore, so and all this on USA. So It might be moving, Fox to USA on SmackDown now again. So, it's if you're oversaturating it too much, man. There's only so many people can watch so much wrestling, and I think more people are leaning to AEW, I mean,
Right.
you have a lot of different surprises on AEW. If you got to get your ratings up with WWE and you got to bring back guys that are 20, 30 years ago, that's, I don't know.
No, it's a really good point. You're right.
No disrespect to the talent that I worked for many years. I'm just saying, though, if you have to bring those guys back and you couldn't make these other guys superstars, that you got thing going on for, and you got to bring John Cena back and this one and this one and this one, you got to find, Roman Reigns has been holding the fort for WWE for quite a while now in the bloodline. So, which I've loved that.
I have a question for you involving making new stars in WWE and involves Roman Reigns. It was something unprecedented at WrestleMania 31. I was actually there for that in California. Really crazy moment. I mean, the crowd being in it was insane. Like, people had no clue Rollins was coming out to cash in. What was it like being in the ring for something that had never happened like that? Like, what was the protocol? What were you told? And really, how did you react in the moment?
I mean, I knew it was coming. But to me at that moment, it was just, to be honest with you, just doing my job. That's, to be honest with you, when I walk out to the ramp and there was 80,000, 90,000, 60,000 or 20,000 in an arena or stadiums, that's what impressed me. And you got goosebumps in them certain times and everything. But when that bell rung and it went ding, 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 when I rang that bell, I had tuned out the whole crowd at times. You tune them out to almost to where you're just focused on your spots, because when you're thinking, okay, it's got to be drop kick, hip toss, this, that, drop kick, then your spot's coming up to take a bump, or you're constantly going, okay, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing it, okay, and you're giving cues and times, and you're passing messages on, you're passing, spots and this and that back and forth. If somebody draws a blank and, hey, what's the next spot? All right, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you just got, and you're hearing, like Gorilla's constantly in your ear, the agent, this one. I used to tune a lot of those crowds out. And, I remember like just, working that match and just going through everything. And with Seth Rollins cashing, it was just, everything was just such a big success. I was relieved. Oh shit, everything went smooth. The agents are happy. You're getting applauded when you get back up to Gorilla. The boys are thanking you. You're thanking the boys, for the match. But there's a lot of times that, you feel things like, in your false finishes and the crowd pops, or this happens or that happens and they pop. But there's a lot of times like I just used to tone out like the crowd, and it wasn't being ignorant or being rude or anything to tone out. It was just, you were so focused on what you have to do in that match, and what's your next spot and how things are going, and you're trying to listen this, and they want this guy to do that, and you're passing cues on, and sometimes you're just so busy of thinking everything, you don't really realize you're in one of the most memorable matches of wrestling history, professional wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, and probably a good strategy to tune them out, and a great skill to be able to do so. Nick, for you, so you mentioned earlier you recently refereed for Ring of Honor. I think it was only a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
That you refereed for them. I'd love to hear that experience was for you, because that's like an 8-year journey right there. Finally coming to, like, that's a huge company, everything you did along the way, but that must have felt really good to you.
It was pretty scary, honestly. Like the entire time flying down to Florida. When I got off the plane, just taking my Uber to the hotel and realizing, like, it was the first time I've been to a wrestling show where I didn't have to pay for my hotel. So that was just new to me. It was just the same hotel where all the wrestlers are at, and there was a shuttle that went there. So I was like, oh, because I was all prepared, just thinking, okay, I'm going to need to get an Uber every day to get this hotel to be able to get to the venue. But instead, there was a shuttle that everybody rode on from the venue to Universal Studios. And then from there, when I got in, it was just like, it was really TV, if that makes any sense. So from being only on the indies, you don't really see this many cameras. You don't see an actual setup. You don't really see things like people practicing their entrances and stuff, or them just setting up lights and all that. I wasn't used to anything more than just somebody having just some big light posts hung around the corners of the ring, or just seeing it being ready for like maybe 200-300 fans. But they were fitting whatever they could fit with inside of that little Universal studio, and just to have those trons and stuff behind me, like it was just it was scary, but at the same time, literally when I got in the ring and by the time I was calling for the code of honor, everything just went away nervousness wise, because it was like it transitioned from me in the middle of, once I called for the code of honor, from all right, I'm in Ring of Honor, I'm on TV, I'm doing something really big, to all right, I'm inside of this wrestling ring. I know what to do inside a wrestling ring. It doesn't matter if it's a Ring of Honor wrestling ring, it's a Pro Wrestling Magic, it's a House of Glory. At the end of the day, it's all wrestling. And I'm used to having people just making jokes on my earpieces in the indies. So now having to actually give commands and stuff that actually mean something, it was a matter of, okay, now I got to make sure that I could do this when they say it. But I don't want to be seen, because it's not just like one person on a camera or one hard cam. There's cameras everywhere. So now I'm giving off these commands while trying to make, hey, keep your hands up. You have 2 minutes left. Hey, what do you want to do? Do you want me to stop this one? You have 1 minute left. Hey, what do you want me to do? They want you in that corner for some reason. Random things like that. Like, It just felt natural as soon as I got to Ring of Honor. And it was like, I just keep wanting to relive that, but now I'm just in limbo waiting for them to say, okay, we need you again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Those are the stressful. Like going off the air at Raw or SmackDown when you went live and pay-per-views, when Vince went to the network, it was kind of different. But when we were going off on USA, if you don't hit your cues and you go minutes late, that's an extra $100,000 right there that the company has to pay to these networks. So, and me hitting those cues and making sure those talent got the cues and working with those guys, we got 30 seconds. We got to fucking go. Drop fucking dead, 30 seconds. And I'm counting my head. 20 seconds left, because I'm not waiting for Billy's cues. I'm thinking to myself, because I was so good with times in the ring. And I don't think once in my career, I've never hit a cue going off the air, which was very important. And then your cues don't stop as a referee. Oh, go up to the corner. They want you to raise the title here. Go up to all four corners. Go up to this corner. Smile, smile, smile. I want to see the baby face smile. Randy Orton used to hate that. What do you mean you want me to fucking smile? I want you to smile, Randy. Fucking smile. I'd be like... so I mean,
they're telling people to do things like after the match and stuff. Because in my mind, I was like,
hard camera, right? Hard camera.
Yeah, hard cam. Go to this.
Fuck. Hard cam.
Do your pose in this corner. Like, do it over. Yeah, things like that. I never thought of, because it's just working indies versus a television thing. Like, you don't think that all these things have to happen. Right. I'm just thinking, okay, I see this, but in my mind now, thinking it back, like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't remember to do all these things either if I just got beat up throughout a match. Like, my mind isn't going to say to myself, okay, I also need to work these cameras. And then it's all those extra random commands. Hey, stay in the ring. Hey, this guy's got to come out. Hey, move over here. When you come back, come to this side because somebody's going to come because we're running late. Things like that. Like, I just don't think of happening, but now that I've learned they're all happen, like, I just want to do them more.
Yeah. And sometimes, I see on the shows now, they don't utilize the referees like they used to. Like back in the day, like if a guy was selling in the center of the ring and somebody would go up to the top, ready to hit a big drop kick or cross body, the guy would sell up and I'd be right in front of that heel or whatever or whoever. And I'd be like, all right, he's getting up to the top rope. He's getting up to the top. You could start selling up, and then the guy would sell up. Instead of facing him, he would be facing away from him, in the center of the ring. So, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, okay, he's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready. Yeah, because I'm his eyes. He's ready. And then the guy would, he would sell up and turn around and boom, he'd hit him right as he turned around, because we're all working together and same page on that. So, because you never want a wrestler getting up, watching him give the crossbody or, you always, timing was perfect. Timing was impeccable at that point. But I see him not utilizing the referees the way they should, but it is what it is these days too. I mean, the counts, they don't apply the 5, the rules on the ropes, or they don't apply this. I see tag teams on AEW just coming in, hitting a spot without even tagging in, and then getting right back out. It's like right in front of the referee. It's like,
Yeah,
putting more heat on the referee.
everybody has their own refereeing style, I feel, in AEW, and it's allowed there to all be just stylistic of some people are more lenient, some people are more strict. But the way I was taught, like I used to watch old school NWA with my grandpa, and he used to just record on VHS, show me the old VHSs that he used to have and stuff. So it'd be like, that's the refereeing I know of, where it's like, no, I'm stern rules. No, what I say goes. It has to be that way, because if not, then it just eliminates the story of a tag match. If not, it's just a clusterfuck fight.
That's it. Yep, it's a clusterfuck fight, and there's, why is the referee in there? Just to count 3? I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, I was watching a match, and it was Jericho and Omega tagging up against these 2 young guys, a Japanese guy and somebody else, young, and it was a good match and everything, but they were just coming in at any point, any time, and just hitting spots right in front of Aubrey. Aubrey Edwards just hitting spots right in front of him, going, oh my God. Like, and especially when you got guys on the outside, you can have a baby face draw you, you can have the other heel draw you, you can, there's many places to go when you have, especially working a tag match.
Looking.
Yeah, so. But
that's the fun of it. Like, I guess it's like, it just ends up being like, in my mind, like, it sucks, but it's not as good as I can ref. It's more so just becoming a matter of like who I can be friends with, who can put me in position to be able to ref on TV or ref in this spot or do this or that. And it sucks because in my mind, I'm like, if I applied myself as a wrestler, if I was as good of a wrestler as I am a referee, I feel like I could have done more. But as a referee, it just doesn't seem to matter wherever I go. Some places, like, I could be the best. I can know all the rules. I can make sure I hit everything right. I can make sure that everybody's just being copacetic and the match is telling us. But it just won't matter if I'm just not the guy who's over there just being everybody's bestie and just wants to go out about my life afterwards.
No, I hear that.
We're gonna wind it down. Mike, if I could just ask you one more moment from your career that that I feel some pressure could have come along with was WrestleMania 14. You brought it up earlier when you were put in the main event that I don't think you were supposed to be in originally. And I love to hear
Shawn Michaels,
Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be Earl Hebner at first, but he got sick. Can you take us through that night and really what was going through your head being in the main event?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I think I had an IC title match or something else that night. I was out there all week because I was doing crew as well. So we're always out there a week prior to, to the Mania setting up and everything. And of course, we're at the Boston Garden, old school Mecca building, a lot of history behind it. Always loved working the Garden. So I get a phone call saying, hey, Michael Hayes and them guys called me and said that you're doing the Stone Cold Shawn Michaels match. Earl's sick. I said, oh shit. I said, you kidding me? He said, yeah, he had some type of aneurysm or something. I said, holy shit. First my thought was, is Earl okay? Or hey, Earl's going to be fine. He had surgery or something. He's going to be okay. but we need you to step up and do this match. I said, hell yeah, no problem. Hell yeah, whatever you guys need, And Stone Cold and Shawn wanted you. I worked with Shawn way back years when they came up. I was in the company when the Rockers came to WWF. So I was always felt great working with Shawn. Shawn taught me a lot when I was green, refereeing, stuff like that. Even him being a wrestler and a tag with Marty Jannetty, being the Rockers. We used to have these 1 hours with the Rougeau brothers and 1 hour draw, 2 out of 3 pinfall matches. And we used to go all night. It was great, man, working with Shawn. So, and working with Stone Cold was phenomenal, man, because he's a great guy and easy to work with. So, when they picked me to do that match, it was just a great feeling. Knowing that I'm respected. I'm they're depending on me because they trust me in the ring to make this match go well. Shawn was banged up, lower back injuries.
Yeah.
I think this was like the big start of Stone Cold's big push, right? Maybe. I think they were starting to really push him at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you had Mike Tyson, which I'm a big fan of, the enforcer. So we had rehearsals that week. And I remember Mike Tyson coming in with his entourage, and I couldn't wait to meet Mike Tyson. And then he comes up. I'm like, hey, Mike, how you doing, brother? I said, I'm Mike Chioda, man. He goes, man, I know who you are. What's up, Chioda? He was like, damn, man, you're like one of my favorite referees. I was like, what?
That's amazing.
Like, that's huge.
You fucking know my name? I'm like, you know me? And I'm thinking, like, that's when they say our names on TV all the time back then. And he was a big fan of wrestling. I didn't know how much he was a huge fan of wrestling. So, I was like, fuck, I used to watch all his fights. I remember missing a fight. I was so pissed one night. Went to take a piss and shit, man, and the fight was over in 90 seconds. How many fights? Boom. It was over in a minute. But he was such a big fan of mine, and just him knowing me, who I was just blew my mind. And, so I just had to teach him how to count, which, he didn't count at all, like the way we were going through in rehearsals that week. But it was just fun being out there with Mike Tyson, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold. It was phenomenal. And, I had to take it wasn't a very hard bump to take out of the corner, get squashed a couple times in the corner, but that's what they wanted. We executed the bump, the ref bump, and then Tyson comes in, finishes it off. He gets the big payday, So, but it was just phenomenal. It was just great being a part of that match, man, and especially at the Boston Garden.
Yeah, that's such a blessing. That's cool. Having Mike Tyson just knowing who you are, that must have caught you off guard.
Oh, it caught me way off guard. I'm thinking, I'm trying to introduce myself. He's like, man, I know who you are. What's up, Chioda? I'm like, he's like, what's up, Mike Chioda? You know me? I'm like, how the fuck you know me, bro? I'm like, you're the baddest man on this planet.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, but that was awesome. Yeah.
Is there any extra responsibility added when like Michael's back was banged up, like you said? Like, were you given special instruction, or were you paying attention extra to that?
No, not really. Just, checking on Shawn throughout the match and, talking if he was really fucked up. I see now Shawn, like the old school days back then, no matter how fucked up his back was, they went through it and Shawn got through it, right? Whatever he had to do to get through that night made it happen. Just like Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle at WrestleMania and Brock Lesnar, where Brock almost broke his neck. But I remember Brock was banged up. Kurt was wrestling with a broken neck, a fracture in his neck, and something else going on with him. He had a few injuries going on that night, which he had gotten surgeries right after WrestleMania. But they got through it because they were the main event. But of course, you're always looking out for the boys, and you're always, you're listening, and they tell you something. And back in them days, there wasn't much to relay. Even when we started going with the IFBs years ago, we used to take a pen. The timekeeper used to have a pencil mark in his mouth, give us the cues, and then by fingers, we'd go 1, 5 minutes, 4, 3, 2, but you'd start up 2. 2 was 10 minutes, and then you'd go 1 for 5, and then that's 9. 1 for 5, that's 8. We used to have our system down.
Yeah.
When we got the IFBs and all that other stuff, we can hear from them, but they couldn't hear from us. And then we finally transitioned into mics to where we could talk back to Gorilla, because it was very fucking frustrating, because they're asking you 50 million fucking questions and then you can't answer them. So we came up with the X sign when somebody's hurt, So, if I couldn't talk back to them, which I couldn't, I'd have to talk back to, timekeeper, but you couldn't talk to the timekeeper during the match, So if somebody got hurt, we came up with this X sign,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we started doing that, which we still do that, but now that you can communicate back to Gorilla, which is a huge part for the referees.
Yeah. Well, no, that's awesome. Interesting that came later, the X sign. I mean, I guess it wasn't, early in the early days, obviously, but still, I never thought that there was a time when you actually created that, you guys. Yeah. Well, Nick, it's been awesome hearing your journey so far. I'd love to hear where we can see you going forward. What are some future goals for you, long term or short term?
My goal is honestly to find a way to make a living off refereeing. It seems hard, but I said I wanted to be a wrestler when I was a kid, and I got to do that. So what could stop me from wanting to be the best referee ever and find a way to do this forever? Like, I literally just want to be all across the TVs and the videos and all that stuff, just refereeing some of the best matches ever and just being a part and a reason why these matches just end up right and well.
Good. Awesome, man. Good luck with everything, Nick. Good luck.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. That's so concise, and yeah, really good luck with that. That's an awesome goal to have.
It sure is.
Mike, I want to throw it to you. Final thing. I heard. What are some future? What can we expect from Mike? Obviously, Monday mailbag. I heard that you were writing a book, maybe too. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing that. Yeah, the process of doing that. I got 3 writers that I'm going to get in touch with. One of them is with Jim Ross, and I'm going to get in touch with him, and a couple other guys. So I finally got. I just moved to Tampa like 4 years ago. But nice. I got everything, all my schedules from the 80s and 90s and old school pictures and all the stuff that I wanted to get together in boxes so I could just give it to a writer, and I'm in a process of starting on that, doing a lot of signings and stuff like that. I pick and choose to where I want to do some matches and stuff like that. Like, and it's nice to be called upon, like with Ric Flair's last match. Rick called me. I just ran into him in Tampa a couple weeks ago downtown because he had an interview with Chris Van Vliet. Then Hogan, he had one at 10 in the morning, and Hogan had one at 2 p.m. And then I had my interview with Chris Van Vliet that same day at 5:30. So I got together with Rick, me and my wife. We were hanging out, having a good time. But just doing signings and doing a lot of things. Hopefully, I'd like to go back. If WWE ever called me to come back and do some training at NXT or anything like that, or training referees, and there's certain matches that I would do too. I still got a few good years left in me, but just doing a lot of virtuals, podcasts, traveling, doing virtuals. I do virtuals in the UK from home. Signings, they go out and do. I got a couple signings coming up this month. I got another. I got actually be in Newark on the 3rd for virtual, for a Facebook virtual and signing at the Hilton Hotel November 4th. That is on a Saturday. So I got that coming up with another couple other signings. So that's why I've been just keeping busy. That's it. Keeping pretty busy. Not bad.
Oh, that's great. I love to see it. And as I said, winding it down, thank you both so much. This has been really fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to do it again too, part 2 down the road.
You got it. Yeah. There's a lot more stories. A lot more stories in this room.
I could tell. Not short of them.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interviews.